WBNE.
Hello and welcome to episode 160, all about the Silmarillion, chapter 20 of the 5th battle and a name I can't pronounce, being the 160th part of That's What I'm Tolkien About. Hello, my name is Mary Clay. If that's too complicated for you, just call me MC. I've been experiencing the world of J.R.R. Tolkien for the first time, and right now I am reading the Silmarillion, so you don't have to. Today I am joined by the Swolhirrim, yes, you heard that correctly, Carlos and Christopher. Welcome.
Hey, how's it going?
Thanks for having us.
Excited to have y'all on. I love a good Tolkien pun, so although I have to say, just because I'm about the least active person ever, I never imagined that I would have the Swolhirrim on. So, but a lot of my former guests actually recommended that I look y'all up, and I was like, oh, these guys are really cool. I was expecting a bunch of, I'll be honest, toxic Tolkien fanboy bros, but yeah, but y'all are really cool. So I appreciate that you're bringing the world of Tolkien into a healthy lifestyle. So why don't you guys tell me and the listeners a little bit about your backgrounds with Lord of the Rings or Tolkien? How did you get introduced to it? And then what is it that you guys do with the Swolhirrim?
I got introduced to Tolkien through The Hobbit first. My brother gave me the book to read, or told me to read the book. I can't remember which one. I was probably a freshman in high school. And then I picked up the Lord of the Rings after that. And then I didn't read it for a while. I got through up to the Council of Elrond, and I was just like, no.
That sounds accurate. Yeah,
this is too much for me. And then the movies were about to come out, and so I decided to reread them again. And I got through the Council of Elrond. And once you get through the Council of Elrond and all these are the lineages of things, the book just flowed for me, and I've read it now. I think I reread it almost every year. Not quite on a Christopher Lee every year for my birthday kind of pace, but
well, I mean, considering he is deceased, you will eventually catch up.
I will catch up to him. I could start
That's
now. And then read the Silmarillion, got the more books, got the map, and so watched the movies, loved the movies, and then I met Chris, and we're both kind of Tolkien nerds, and that kind of grew it even more. So yeah,
and I mean, for me, it started. I mean, my introduction to Tolkien was very young. I was I remember like 5 years old, and I was at my grandparents' house, and they had the Laserdisc version of the 1978 animated The Hobbit.
Oh yeah. Classic.
I remember watching it, and Gollum scared me so bad.
Yeah.
Like his like this weird giant toad Gollum was terrifying to me, but I loved the movie. But I didn't really go back until, the movies came out. I think Return of the King came out my first year of college. And that's kind of when I started watching the movies, loved that, read the books just before that, but really got into it when I had a summer job working for the Forest Service. During college, I went down to like the audiobook section of our college library and found the Silmarillion, and I'd never heard of it before. Just saw that it was written by the same guy that wrote The Lord of the Rings, right? And I checked it out and did what everybody did in the early 2000s. I burned it onto my computer and then put it all on my iPod. And all I did for a summer was drive around a forest and listen to it over and over. And I fell in love with this like early world of Beleriand, like before Middle Earth and all of that stuff. Like, I don't know what it was about it, but I loved the storytelling that he gave us. So really Silmarillion was what got me into Tolkien. And then I started listening to the books again, reading the trilogy and the Hobbit and stuff every once in a while. But I just always go back to the Silmarillion. There's something about it that I love it, which I'm sure you're like, how?
I was gonna say.
I've listened to your podcast.
Yeah.
And you're just like, how is that? I don't know what it is about it. It's something about this like glorious moment of men and elves. You know, that it's different than what we get in the Third Age.
Yeah, there's some chapters in the Silmarillion where it's just like, oh my God, would you just like get through this already?
Yes.
But
like the map chapter.
I am familiar.
like the map
yes.
chapter, yes, like the map chapter. But like you get to what we're gonna cover today, and it is the most action that you'd get anywhere.
Yeah.
It's a lot of action.
Pretty violent.
And then Carlos and I actually met because I have always been into fitness, started doing CrossFit and started coaching CrossFit. So I came into a gym where Carlos was already a member at for a while, and I became a coach there. And Carlos and I we do what nerds do. I talked Tolkien while I'm coaching people, and most people are like, please
shut
stop
up about
talking
the
about
Ents
this.
or
Right?
eagles and
Like,
yeah.
Most people are like, we do not care. But Carlos and I bonded over it, and then it became a thing when one morning I was ranting to my partner about was it
The
about
horses.
Feanor? Yeah, it was about the
horses.
horses in Feanor. And I
Yeah.
was just ranting about it and how annoyed I was. And she just set up her camera and started filming me. And I ended up sending that to Carlos. He was like, dude, you should start putting this on YouTube. So I started a podcast. The first few episodes were, just me and my partner. And then Carlos jumped in and became a co-host there.
That's when that's when we became fully dressed, though.
Yeah, that's when I stopped having a shirt on.
So yeah, he was a little bit of the toxicness at the very beginning.
I was just
but
showing,
there's no way I'm coming on. Like he's like, oh, I need to have you on. I was like, there's no way I'm doing that without a shirt on. So just no one wants to see that.
And a big part of it was just this idea of, combining these two things of it's okay to be a nerd and be a part of any healthy lifestyle that you want to be a part of. Right. And we're seeing more and more of that. And that's becoming more and more the norm. And there are a lot of people out there that are trying to push that same thing. But, we like to talk about it a lot that like, you don't have to have perfect knowledge on Tolkien to be a part of this club. Right.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be, bench pressing double your body weight to be a part of the fitness part. Right. Any movement is movement, and any love for Tolkien is great. And that's really kind of what we try to push, and we try to bring into our Swolhirrim community.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. That's just like, really cool how, I've been doing the podcast now for 3 years, and it's been really wonderful to see all the different ways that Tolkien is this like, this glue for a lot of different communities. And so it's really fun to see the variety of the friendships and connections being formed over these books and stuff that are, of the previous century.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really has been great growing. A big part of our growth of our community has been the Discord that, you had Callie cosplay on, and like what she's done for the Tolkien community, I think is incredible. So it's been great to be a part of that.
Yeah, all very cool stuff. Less cool are the things that happen in this chapter.
That is a great segue. Yep. Oh my God.
I'm great at them. Yep. So this is of the fifth battle, Nirnaeth. Arnoediad.
Carlos loves saying this one, so Carlos, go for it.
Yeah, you go for it.
Nirnaeth Arnoediad.
That's the one.
Oh my God, that is just Nirnaeth Arnoediad. Oh my God. I know it's a made-up language, but like that legitimately sounds like a made-up language.
It is super intimidating. We did a trivia as part of that Tolkien Discord that Callie started. We did a trivia with with a bunch of with two teams, right? New Beta had a team, and Lord Nerd, I don't know if you know him on TikTok, also had a team. It was intimidating because
Trying to say
Yeah,
all
and
of
I
those.
think,
trying to say all this stuff.
I think I saw most recently that they're about to do another trivia battle. I think by the time this comes out, it might have already happened. But yeah, I was like, okay, let's go. Like, let's see this battle of.
Yeah, I think we're doing it in September. Is that right?
September, I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. I thought it was more. Okay, sweet. So listeners, be on the lookout for that happening. Where were we? Anyway, oh yeah, that's right. Made up language.
Just the name.
Pronunciation. Yeah, just the name.
The title of the chapter. All right. So first we get a paragraph that should have just been in the previous chapter.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
But Tolkien wanted to end Beren and Luthien with that dedication that they took to each other of, well, I guess Beren didn't really have a say in it, but Luthien, because he was dead at that point, but Luthien deciding to give up her immortality and her gift of being an elf, so to speak, in order to live another life with Beren. So they come back to life, and they depart and go to
Tolgalen.
That's right, over in the east side of the map. Oh yeah, I should.
My map is reversed. So I have
it's
to
reversed.
like.
Carlos is
Yeah.
doing the weatherman thing
Yeah,
over here.
listeners, Carlos has a green screen of the map of Beleriand for his background, and I'm so mad that never occurred to me because it would have been so helpful. Anyway, yeah, so they kind of, go away because they do go to Doriath and, for a little family reunion.
Right.
And everyone's kind of like, oh, so you're mortal now? That's good for you. Like, just really unsure about that.
I think this, even though I agree with you that this should have been in the previous chapter, what I do love about this is, Luthien specifically does it to comfort her father, right? To be like, I'm alive and I'm here, and it says she heals the winter of Thingol, right? But we get to see a little bit more than what we didn't see in the trilogy of how brokenhearted that makes the parents when the parents are immortal, right? Like this is an immortal being who now understands that they do not get to live out the rest of their life with their child who chose mortality. And that's it's heartbreaking when you think back on Elrond.
Who goes off to a different plane, right? Because when the
Right.
elves die, they spend some time in the halls of Mandos, and then they're reincarnated into new bodies in, Amon? Valinor.
Yeah.
Whatever, same thing.
Yeah. And it's also, there's also that added layer that even for humans, that's really tragic is parents outliving their child.
Right.
And so there's that, added tragedy level. It says that Luthien and Melian, they make eye contact. Melian reads the doom that was written there. In the previous episode, Don Marshall and I talked a lot about the excessive use of the word doom, even though it's not necessarily what he means, but whatever.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Carlos and I have talked about that. The idea that doom means
It's
destiny more
destiny.
than anything else.
Yeah. And it says, for she knew that a parting beyond the end of the world had come between them, and no grief of loss has been heavier than the grief of Melian the Maya in that hour.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I like watching and reading Lord of the Rings. Actually, reading Lord of the Rings, it's really not at all a relevant plotline, but watching it with Arwen's and Aragorn's story, I was kind of like, girl, he's a boy. Go. I get it's Aragorn. I get it, but also don't give up your elfishness for this boy. Go to the, just because I'm being an elf would be so amazing. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So
Well,
I can get Melian being like, girl, what have you done? But also there's the deeper layer of it's a very tragic circumstance for them as mother and daughter.
Yeah, I mean, once she dies, she will literally never see her again.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's heartbreaking.
It mentions that they have a child, and I can't find the name of the child, but
Dior.
Dior.
Wait, what?
Dior.
Oh, I thought you said Eeyore. I was like,
Or as I read it, because of all of the commercials that I think, I always think Dior, like the
Dior.
perfume.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
Dior.
So they have a child who is technically Thingol's heir, and then it says, so they leave Doriath and they go over to that part of Osiriand, or near Osiriand, and it says that no mortal man spoke ever again with Beren, and none saw Beren or Luthien leave the world or marked where at last their bodies lay. So they just go off the grid and
Yeah.
are never seen again.
And I kind of feel a little bit bad for Dior, because I'm sitting here thinking, like, what kind of life did you have coming up? Because they never had visitors. It was just
Homeschooled. He was homeschooled.
Yeah.
He was an off the grid homeschooled kid.
Yeah.
So interesting life that he must have had.
Yeah. Or he just, left and was like, I'm going on my own adventures.
I'm going to
Dad.
stay with my grandpa.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is a world where 13-year-old mortal men go and fight Morgoth. So, and I say men, children. So, it doesn't matter. He easily, I'm going to go see grandpa because I'm the heir of that kingdom for some reason. So, bye. So there's that one paragraph, and then we move into the plot of this chapter of this battle. So long story short, they've all realized, divided, we're not going to be able to do anything, but united, spoiler alert, they also are not able to do anything, but they try anyway. Maedhros decides to, very conceited of himself. I've been giving Maedhros a lot of props, because it seems like he is a much, for being the eldest son of Feanor, he could be a lot worse. So he seems to be doing pretty good.
He's the best
of the sons.
Okay,
he's the
cool.
best of the sons, but
Yeah.
all the sons suck.
Yeah,
Yes.
but they all kind of still
they
suck.
all they all still suck. So he's the best of the worst, and
Yes,
it's not
yeah.
really.
So he decides to
much.
form the Union of Maedhros and a council of everyone, but they find out that of course no one likes the Sons of Feanor, so no
Right.
one really wants to join it.
And to be real, it's all Kelgorm and Curifin's fault.
Yeah.
All of it.
Oh,
100%.
100%.
They could have had
They're terrible.
so much more chances were it not for them.
Yeah.
Well, that's why Nargothrond doesn't join. Really, right? They don't really send anybody.
And it's why Doriath
and
doesn't
Doriath doesn't join
Yeah.
because they're like, you have our Silmaril, we're gonna kill you if we win this. So they're like,
Yeah.
okay, then we're not sending anybody.
Kelgorm and Curvin, truthfully, zero chill.
Yeah. Literally the worst.
They're awful. Orodreth, who is now... Oh, actually, I think it's helpful for us to go through the family tree and say who is still here and who isn't, because I did that when I was reading this chapter, and I was like, oh, that's not great. All right, so Feanor, dead, obviously.
Right.
Fingolfin, he died in a somewhat recent chapter in that battle against Morgoth.
Fingolfin's my fave.
Fingon, who is Fingolfin's eldest son, died on that quest with Beren, which I was like, really?
Finrod did.
Sorry,
Finrod.
Finrod. Okay,
Yeah.
Finrod.
Fingon is still alive.
Fingon is still alive.
Fingon is alive momentarily.
all the Finns are super confusing.
Oh my god. Okay,
Finarfin,
Finrod. Yes. Who's
Yeah.
the Finarfin is the third son who is still over in Valinor.
Correct.
Finrod is the one who died on that quest with
Who's also
Beren.
Galadriel's brother.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then their other brothers, Angrod and Egnor, died in a random battle that I don't remember which one it was, but they died. It
Bragalok?
mentioned that they died.
Yeah. I think it was the beginning of the Bragalok.
Yeah.
Of Galadriel's family, it's just her and Orodreth. And so Orodreth is now command of Nargothrond. And then, the middle, so Fingolfin's family, there's Fingon, Turgon, who is the king of Gondolin, and Erethel, who died tragically because a man couldn't mind his own business.
Exactly. Yes.
And all of this, and that was when I really realized, I was like, oh, the Sons of Feanor are all still alive. How is that possible?
Yeah. Well, that's gonna change.
Oh my gosh, quickly. They have a greater doom lying upon them.
Yeah, I know. Like this guy had the most sons that any other elf had, and somehow these jerks are all still alive.
Yes, it's that pesky doom of Mandos. I'm assuming he's like, I got something better.
Little emo Mandos over there, just holding on.
So that's what's going on with all of the familial relations and whatnot. So Orodreth is like, no, I'm not going to come help you. Your brothers are.
Yes, exactly.
Corufin and Caligorm, because reminder, they tried to take over Nargothrond when Finrod left, and they also kidnapped Luthien and kept her hostage there. So, not a good situation at all.
Well, and they stopped when they did that. They stopped basically an entire army going with Finrod too. Yeah, like Finrod and Baron would have had much higher chances had Caligorm and Curfin not stirred up the whole no, let's not help them.
He went with 12 guys.
Yeah,
right?
like
12
they
guys?
could have had an army, and instead, because of those guys, they had a few men. And that was it.
And also from it just made me laugh. It just says, from Doriath came little help. And I was like, like even without the Silmaril being there, Thingol notoriously is like, I'm not getting involved with any of y'all's shit.
Well, they kidnapped his daughter.
Yeah, that too.
Right.
So even before then, I would have been like, there's no way he's getting involved. But they kidnapped his daughter. They now have a Silmaril. Yeah, it mentions that Caligorm and Corufin are like, you better give us that Silmaril or else we're gonna kill you.
Yeah, if we survive this war, we're gonna come and kill you.
Yeah, and I was just like, can we... Yeah, it says, but Caligorm and Curufin vowed openly to slay Thingol and destroy his people if they came victorious from war and the jewel were not surrendered of free will.
And why is this? Why is all of this happening again? Because Thingol, in his infinite wisdom, will not listen to his wife.
Yes!
Who's a Maiar?
Yes! Melian! Love her. Yes, it mentions that she counsels Thingol to just give them the stone.
Just give it back.
But then the pride of Thingol comes into play when Curufin and Caligorm are like, you better give us that stone or else we're gonna, we've declared war upon your people. And he's like, well, now I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah, it's the pride of Thingol, and it's the lust of the Silmaril, right?
Yeah.
Those are the two things that are keeping him from doing the right thing.
As he looks on it, the desire of it grows. Right? Like, because it's like every time he's looking at this Silmaril, it grows in him to keep it, to hold on to it. Right. So yes, there is a bit of a curse of the Silmaril there, but it's like, how many times do you not listen to your wife? How many times?
So many times. I love all of the moments where something is happening and Melian tells Thingol something, and then Thingol proceeds forward with however he wants to, and then it says Melian said nothing, or
you can see her giving him the face right next to him too, what are you doing?
So we just have this woman stuck between these prideful dumb men. Just
ridiculous.
Oh my god, she's like, just avoid the slaughter of our people and give them this stupid stone.
She's like, bro, it's a rock. They talked about this a long time ago, that they were gonna get this rock no matter what. Just give it back to them. Come on.
he refuses, and none of his people go out except for Mablung and Beleg, and he lets them leave, but he's like, fine, you can go, but you're serving under Fingon and not Feanor.
Yep.
Also, there are the Naugrim, the dwarves, and they are a wonderful ally.
Chris has something to say about that.
I do. So we've talked about this multiple times, and I actually heard you and Annex talked about this a little bit. I believe this is another point to the fact that this is a story, this is a legend that is being told by the elves.
Right, yeah.
And the reason why I say that is because multiple times they call them the Naugrim in this, which means the stunted people.
I had to hold when they're first introduced, I brought that up too. I was like, what is like, and they know the word call them dwarf. They know that they're dwarves.
Like, call them what they are.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it mentions that they know that they call themselves Khazad. And I'm like, well, then why don't you call them that? But no, they're going to call them the like slightly backhanded word for dwarf in Elvish instead.
These elves are a bunch of dicks, and they
propaganda.
Call them Naugrims instead.
Yes.
And
it's Elvish propaganda.
Come on, guys.
Yes, Elvish. Granted, I have to see what happens, with the rest of the story because, but there's
a reason for it.
There is.
But it's that, old saying that history is written by the victors. And so it's, these histories and these stories definitely have a lot of, there was also I think it's when the men come over into Beleriand, and it gave me a lot of like, not like white savior complex, but like elvish savior complex where I think it was, I don't remember which elf it was, but one of them was there and he like taught them music and language and like all these things as if their lives and at that point the men had several generations of families.
They've been around for like 400 years at that point. Like, come on.
Well, they had interacted with they had interacted with the elves that never went west, right? And so they did know some Elvish, and so that's why they were able to kind of talk with each other, or understand each other.
And it just made it out that like, oh my god, the men's lives were made so much better because they came into contact with the elves. And
the Noldor are a little bit haughty.
Yes, just a touch.
They think highly of themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, they have the alliance of the dwarves who, like, as we know from, The Hobbit and, Gimli and Lord of the Rings and Moria and everything. And as we're, I think, going to see a lot of in the, in Rings of Power, which I'm excited to see, more of the dwarves. They're very, they're craftsmen, they're warriors, they're very strong, they're very, loyal to each other. They have a lot of like great strength of character.
Right.
So they're an excellent ally in my opinion.
And I do like that here it says that like he had the help of I hate that they say Naugrim. He had the help of the dwarves, both in armed forces and in great store of weapons. Like basically saying like they're here to help us physically, but they also basically built all of our armor and our weaponry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, which is pretty, I mean, that's especially coming from a son of Feanor, who was a smith and, a student of Aule and everything.
Right.
Like, coming from him saying that, like, we've been participating in like trade with them and getting weapons and stuff like that because they are so good at what they do.
Yes. Yeah. There are also the men that are being led by Bor and Ulfang, who are the chieftains of the Easterlings. And these are the ones that in a previous chapter we learned have been sent over here through the word of Morgoth. And they are his servants and his spies among the men to deceive and to deceive the men and ruin their plans, but also tell Morgoth what's going on. It said, yeah, and it mentions that word does come to Gondolin. Like, all it says, and to Gondolin, also the tidings came to Turgon, the hidden king. And that's all you hear. It's just like, he hears that this is happening, but he's, whatever.
He's Turgon.
Yeah.
He's Turgon.
They know what's going on. Whether they get involved or not, I don't know. We'll have to see. Question, though, for y'all. It mentions that from Nargothrond comes a small company led by Gwyndor, who grieved the loss of his brother Gelmir. Are these men?
No,
they are elves.
Oh.
Yes.
When did they come into play? This is
Just
the first
now,
time.
really.
Okay,
Just
great.
now, yeah.
Okay, so they're elves.
Yeah, they do become important, but yeah, just now do they come into the story. Really.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I was like,
Because
who is Gwyndor? Never heard of him.
You're like, wait,
Yeah,
who's
I don't
this
know.
guy? What's
I don't know
happening?
if I don't know if it mentions during the chapter with the Bragalok whether or not Gelmir specifically named is taken captive. I know it says that there are there's a contingent of elves from Nargothrond who are captured and made thralls and stuff like that. But I don't know if it specifically names him.
Yeah, and for all that, I'm trying to think. Is Gwyndor the one that's captured?
No, Gelmir.
No. Yeah, for all that Gwyndor knows, Gelmir is dead.
Yes,
Yep.
that's what he thinks has happened, and so
Yeah.
he's it says in the Dagor Bragalok. So he is surged forward by this grief over his brother.
Yeah, that's his whole thing with that's the whole reason why he wants to go, right?
That's his motivation for fighting
he's like,
this.
can I please, like, even if you don't want to send out a whole bunch of people, I understand that. Can I please go and take a few men, however that may be.
And just to go back a little bit, the whole reason this is happening is because of Beren and Luthien, right? That's kind of mentioned at the very beginning that Maedhros saw what they were able to do and was like, Morgoth can be defeated, right? He's still weak. So
that's important.
We need to get together. So that's why he's trying to get all these people together.
Yeah, they're like, hey, this mortal man, this elf woman, and their dog went to Angband.
Oh, your poor TikTok about Huon.
Yeah.
He's still alive. I don't know what you're talking about. He's still alive. I would like the fact that they just like walked right into his like throne room.
Yeah.
And then she like sang a song and he fell asleep or something and they took a Silmaril and like that's what happened. Like,
and I'm
crazy.
sure the story gets inflated and stuff too, right? So you've got elves now that are like this man
with one hand.
Yeah, like went and did this, and then like they were able to then defeat the wolf that swallowed this. Like it's like this whole story that they're like, let's go. Like,
we
now
can
is
do
the
this.
time.
We can do this.
However, it says Maedhros made trial of his strength too soon. So they maybe should have spent some more time planning and maybe training together, doing group bonding activities. I don't know. Because it says, for the faithless men of his secret allegiance, being Morgoth, were yet deep in the secrets of the sons of Feanor. So the men, the Easterlings under Morgoth's command, know everything about what's going on, and they know the plan.
And I like to point out, and we get this a little bit later, it is Ulfang's people, right? Because we do get Bor as Bor the Faithful.
Yeah.
They kind of change their mind after a while of being, a part of the society with the elves and stuff like that. And again, we get that a little bit later, but yeah, Ulfang's people are the just the worst.
The jerks.
Just the worst.
So the plan that they come up with is that so Maedhros and the Sons of Feanor, they are on the east side of Beleriand in the north. Yes, thank you. And Fingon has reign over Hithlum, which is on the west side. And so they're kind of just, they're on the southwest and southwest and southeast sides of Angband and Morgoth's territory. So they're going to converge from both sides and do this thing together.
Hammer and anvil, as they say.
Yes. The signal for Maedhros and his army coming over into the land is the lighting of a beacon. Just mentioning that.
You gotta love
it's
the
just
beacons.
one beacon, I think, so not as epic, but that's important to note because the day arrives that this is supposed to happen, and Fingon and his people, they're watching, they're not seeing the signal, and what they don't know is that Maedhros was it says they were hindered by the guile of Uldor, the accursed, who deceived him with false warnings of assault from Angband. So they're delayed in their march over there, but everyone in Fingon's army is like, let's go! Like, what are we doing? What are we waiting for? Like, we're here, let's go for it. And I think
it's our boys Hurin and Hur that are like, calm down.
Yeah, they're like, let's...
Hurin specifically, I think.
Yeah.
Yes! I was like, y'all are smart. Yeah. Let's listen to you. Also, I don't know why literally no one is like, maybe we should listen to the Elf King? Fingon? He's the king here. He's the leader of these armies. Like, maybe let's listen to him. They are waiting for this signal. They're not sure what to do. And then, oh no, that comes later. They're also met by, the elves of the Falas, that's right, and Gwyndor's company from Nargothrond come. Then they see that Morgoth he's coming for them.
Right.
He's ready to fight. And then Turgon and Gondolin show up, which was
blasting
like,
his
what?
horn, right? Yeah. I mean, gives very much the vibes of like Helm's Deep in the movies, right? When the elves show up and they're like, that's no orc horn type of thing. And it's the elves, right? And it's a very similar vibe of, what I love is like that Turgon like shows up and his brother, like Fingon's just like, we got this, guys.
Yeah.
Like, we're good.
He's
I'm
also
glad we
probably like,
waited.
yo, that's my brother. I haven't seen him in like 400 years.
It's been so long.
So sad.
He
so sad.
disappeared.
Him and I went on a camping trip and then suddenly he was gone. I don't know
He
what
just never
happened.
came back. Yeah. Like, what a crazy coincidence. I thought you were dead. Like,
yeah, right?
Yeah, I just love that for unsummoned and unlooked for, Turgon had opened the leaguer of Gondolin. They're marching forward. Everyone else is sitting there. They're like waiting. Morgoth's armies are drawing closer to them. And Huron says, because everyone's really eager to go, he bade them beware of the guile of Morgoth, whose strength was always greater than it seemed and his purpose other than he revealed. So he's like, I know what's happening. And like, we gotta relax a bit. We gotta chill.
Well, and going back really quick, I feel like it's important, and it's important because I love the way that Tolkien foreshadows a lot of things. He always prepares us, and we don't know that until we get to the end of the chapter, right? But here, and I am not good with it, so I'm not going to say it in Elvish. But so when they show up, he says, "The day has come, and all behold, people of the Eldar and fathers of men, the day has come." Right, and then the answer is, "The night is passing," and that's important. Like it's this phrase here that is shouted is important because of what happens
at the end
of this battle.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just foreshadowing of like, there is so much hope. And I know that I think it was you and Callie that were talking about this, of like this next few parts. It's like, there's so much hope. And then Tolkien's like, you don't mind if I break your heart, right? Like, you don't mind if I just like,
you're not using this heart, are you?
and that's what this is, right? There's so much like, the Eldar and the fathers of men, the day has come. And then everybody answers back to the night is passing. Right. And it's this moment, this beautiful moment. And then
there's Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
it's like,
hope.
Or
There's
yeah,
so much hope.
Yeah, it's
right?
like, or so you thought. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, you
Exactly.
thought you were winning. Interesting. It would be a shame if something happened there. So, and what happens is so the Noldor are waiting, but like just barely, because the forces of Gondolin are coming up. Morgoth's army is approaching.
Everybody's getting amped,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And then Morgoth's army bring out Gelmir, who is Gwyndor's brother, who he previously thought was dead. And he had actually been captured. And they bring him out and it says they had blinded him. So he's already been through that. And then in front of, in view of the Noldor, they cut off his hands and feet and his head.
Well, and they do this because basically Morgoth has told his captain, like, we need to draw them in.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they keep doing that. They keep sending out orcs and nothing. Right. Hurin's like, no, wait. And they keep doing things. And he's like, no, wait. Like, I understand you guys are amped. And his captain was just like, you know what? I know what'll do it.
Yeah.
And it's just.
Sure enough, Gwyndor
loses it.
Yeah, he is. I mean, I would be too. That's very violent. So violent.
It is, and probably one of, up until this point, probably one of the most gruesome things we've seen in the Silmarillion. Yeah. Right? They bring out a blinded elf, cut off his hands and feet in front. So, like, putting him through torturous pain, and then cut off his head.
There's stuff Sauron did or implied.
Yeah, that's true. But then after that, they say, we've got many more. Yeah. And they will all be done to the same way, right? Yeah. Like, we're going to do this exact same thing to all of the other elves that we currently have. Mm-hmm. And it's just...
Yeah, so that sets them off. And Gwyndor charges forward, and...
His wrath was kindled to madness, which is one of my favorite lines. Like, he just went red.
Yeah. Yeah, like, and he is like unstoppable. Like, nothing is going to hold him back at this point. And so a few people follow him, and then that's the kind of thing of, I can imagine either Hurin or Fingon being like, wait, and then being like, it's too late now. Like, I guess we're charging.
Well, and I do love that, like, the power of him and the elves of Nargothrond. It says that it says that it was so fell and swift that the onslaught almost the designs of Morgoth went astray.
Yeah,
like they wrecked house so badly.
He wasn't expecting that.
Oh no!
Yeah,
like,
they really
we went too far.
They made Morgoth like sweat there for a bit, and he was not expecting that to happen. And so Fingon joins, and the Noldor from Hithlum charge forward officially. And it says they burst through the gate. And they get to the doors of Angband, and they're like banging on the door. And it says, Morgoth trembled upon his deep throne, hearing them beat upon his doors. So they were very close. And that was something that he did not expect at all, where he was probably like, oh, maybe that wasn't a good idea. Like,
yeah. Like, bro, you went too far with the,
maybe we overdid it there a bit. However, they are trapped there. And so all of them are killed except for Gwyndor.
And I like to think this is Sauron, his second in command, right? Who planned that part of it.
Yeah.
Like, let's just keep some people. In case they get here, then we can trap them.
Yeah. Callie and I were talking that Sauron seems to be a lot more of the brains of the operation. And Morgoth obviously has the wrath and everything. But Sauron definitely seems to have a lot more scheming and a lot more thought behind some of the actions that they do.
He's a planner. He's got a list. Yeah. He's got a list, and he's making sure,
And then what happens is, would you like to say it, Carlos?
Nirnaeth Arnoediad,
which means unnumbered tears. Yikes!
Which is a callback to the Doom of Mandos, right? Mm-hmm. Where he says, and your tears will be unnumbered. Like, when he tells them when they're leaving Valinor, right? He's like, if you leave, like, you're gonna see some stuff, and your tears will be unnumbered.
Mm-hmm.
So I always think about that when I'm rereading the book, and I knowing that's an upcoming chapter, is that this was already predestined.
Yeah.
Creepy emo Mondos already told you all
yes,
this.
Yeah. And it says that Angband was emptied. And that like every dragon, every Balrog, every orc, anything that he has been, concocting or torturing or forming is released into the world. There is a bit of hope in this terrible day of unnumbered tears. It says hope was renewed in the hearts of elves because finally Maedhros makes it there. They are able to help out a bit with Turgon and Gondolin's army because they were being attacked, and then Maedhros and his army come in from the rear. So that's great. But again, they have wolves, Balrogs, dragons, orcs. They got everything.
One thing that I think we always we don't really cover, and I just thought of it like rereading it, was this is the fourth day, right? Yeah. This happens on the fourth day. So this has been going on for, Gelmir charges, right? And 3 days later is when the worst of it happens. So they've been fighting for 3 days.
Yeah. Well, and it says like I think this is kind of where you were getting at, talking about, the gates of Angband being emptied, right? Is it, yet neither by wolf nor Balrog nor dragon would Morgoth have achieved his end, but for the treachery.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he still could have lost this, right?
Oh,
it was still possible that Morgoth could have lost this if but for Ulfang, right?
The treachery of men. I get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's so many things that you go.
This makes a lot more sense from the movie Elrond quote of like, I was there,
right.
Because in the movie, we've talked about it, Isildur is a little bit done dirty. Like, honestly, like the Isildur that we see in the movie is not the Isildur that we know in the books, right? But if you do want to talk about treachery of men, this is that. This is that moment, right? This is when the faith of men fell, right?
Yes. And it definitely does put into perspective a lot more about like why when, the Council of Elrond is happening, why Elrond is like, you brought the hobbits to do this, and like these other men, like it makes sense why all of these varying people are very mistrusting of other races of people because they've been betrayed by that in the past,
Yeah.
Right.
So what happens is so Maedhros and his army come up, right? But then the sons of Ulfang turn on Fëanor and start battling them. And it says, they reaped not the reward that Morgoth promised them, for Maglor slew Uldor the Accursed, and the sons of Bor. Oh, and the sons of Bor slew Ulfast and Ulwarth. So their leaders are taken out. But, and I love that they reaped not the reward Morgoth promised them, that the men are like, obviously they're just pawns in Morgoth's plan. And they're like, wait a minute, you didn't tell us that we were going to die. Like,
well, and that's that moment when Bor and his family, so like the sons of Bor, gets that title, Bor the Faithful, right? Because you did have the men of, Ulfast, or Ulfang and that entire line that turned. But Bor was like, nah, like we like the elves. We like what we're doing. We enjoy this place. Like, and they turned on, that other set of men that they first came into Beleriand with.
Yeah. They also have another like group or army of men hidden in some of the nearby hills that come out, and they now attack Maedhros on 3 sides.
Yeah.
And I love this because again, at the beginning of this chapter was when I flipped back to the family trees and I went through and I was like, oh, okay, so all of the sons of Fëanor are still alive. That's crazy. It says, yet fate saved the sons of Fëanor. And like that's just so just on the nose that like clearly something bigger is in store for them, you know.
Yeah.
Otherwise they would all be dead.
Yeah.
And they're injured and whatnot, but they are split up and scattered.
Mhm.
The dwarves do great.
Yeah.
It says they withstood fire more heartily than either elves or men. That's right. Glaurung is attacking them.
And Glaurung kind of does Glaurung does a big amount of damage by basically splitting up the armies, right?
Yeah.
He goes like right down the middle
Down the
and cuts the field in half and makes it a lot more difficult for them as well as, you know, the
Being a
awful
dragon.
men that do it, and being a gigantic dragon, he was able to kind of cut that battlefield in half and split up the armies.
Yeah. However, not even his mighty armor was foolproof against the blows of their great axes. So like that's
So
how
great.
good the smith work and the craftsmanship of the dwarves are that they're able to fight a dragon.
Well, and I love that we get even more of a description of like their helmets and their face masks, right? They say that the face masks were like terrifying to look upon. Like they basically wore into battle what they wore in their smiths that like protected them. You know, it's like a person wearing a visor for
Like a welding
welding.
helmet.
Welding
Yeah.
mask, yeah.
and they're like that's what they're wearing into battle, and that's why they can withstand the dragon fire so well.
And the like climax of this battle happens. So they're all like circling Glaurung and fighting him, and Glaurung strikes down Azagal, who is their leader, the Lord of Belgast. And he crawls over him, planning to like, you know, deal a final
him.
blow.
Yeah.
And Azagal stabs him under in his belly, where we know from The Hobbit they apparently have, you know, this soft spot,
Right.
this weakness, and wounded him so that I thought he killed him. Never mind, but he wounded
later.
him enough that that he flees the battlefield.
Yep.
And it says the beasts of Angband in dismay followed after him.
Yeah, I love that, like, one little stab, and Glaurung's like, nah, I'm out.
Yeah, I'm
bye.
done. I didn't know that could
like,
happen to me.
Yeah.
I thought I was safe, but I'm not.
Yeah.
And like all of these beasts of Angband leave, and so the dwarves, they did like a really great part in this battle. So they pick up Azagal and take him away. And I think, it says, and gave no heed more to their foes.
Yeah.
And I love that they're like, you know what? We're maybe done here.
Yeah. They basically did the same thing that Glaurung did, right? Yeah. Glaurung was like, I'm out. And they pick up their leader, start singing, and they're like, yeah, we're out too.
Yeah.
Like, it's been real, guys, but we're done.
Yeah. Like we did our part. We lost our leader.
No avenging of Azagal either, right?
No.
They're just like, nope.
Yep.
They're like, he did a really valiant thing, and we're ready to go back to our mountains and, away from y'all that you dragged us into your problems.
And now some really, really sad stuff happens.
Then comes Gothmog, Lord of Balrog's High Captain of Angband.
Mm-hmm.
And he starts picking a fight with Fingon, and Turgon and Huron get kind of like separated from him, I think. And so they have a big battle, and it says that Gothmog hewed him. Wait, where is it? Let's say. I thought I remember reading a quote about. Okay, never mind. Sorry, misremembered something. It says, then Gothmog hewed him with his black axe, and a white flame sprang up from the helm of Fingon as it was cloven. Thus fell the High King of the Noldor. Rip. And then this is like
keep reading. Keep reading.
This is
one of the saddest part, really quick though, before we jump ahead.
Yeah.
One of the saddest part of this whole thing is earlier, and we didn't go over it too much, the joy that Hurin, Huor, Fingon and Turgon had when they met in battle is described here, right? They were so happy. It was glad in the midst of battle is what it says when they all joined up as they're fighting, right? So I'm sure Fingon too, because technically nobody knew that Hurin and Huor ever went to Gondolin, right? So Fingon is
True.
like, how do you know my brother Turgon?
Yeah, it's like, don't
why
worry
are you
about
guys
it.
so excited? It's like, it's fine, it's great. And so like it's such this joyous meeting, even though they're in the midst of battle. And then Turgon and Hurin, who were most excited about all of this, see that, like, watch this go down.
Yeah.
They watched Gothmog take his axe, hew it into the head of Fingon, and then
yikes. And they beat him into the dust with their maces, and his banner, blue and silver, they trod into the mire of his blood.
that is bad. And they're just watching this happen.
Yeah.
They're watching this while trying to fight off other Balrogs. They're just watching this happen.
It's
Poor Fingon. Poor Fingon.
yeah, it's intense.
Oh.
It's intense. Yeah.
Like, how many of these, I wonder in these situations, like, how many of these elves make it back to Valinor and go to Manwë and be like, bro, like, could you guys not have done anything about
I am
this?
so furious. And I made a meme about this like 2 chapters ago, I think now, of like, I don't want to go too much into it because maybe I'll just like cut this out because I think the listeners have now heard this from me like a million times. But just the fact that the Valar they were supposed to be there to like protect the children of Iluvatar. They're supposed to be there to help bring forth this vision that he had. And instead they had like a few little mishaps with their estranged brother, and they hide themselves from the
Behind
rest
the
of the
walls.
world.
Yeah.
And they let the children of Iluvatar, who they are supposed to be there helping and protecting, they let them deal with what's his face? Morgoth.
Morgoth.
Well, and then that's the thing, right? Is like, it's not like these guys aren't going to come. Like, all of these elves are going to be back with you at some point. And if I am an elf that is getting trod into the dirt
ground
as I'm dying, just getting wrecked, and I show up in the halls of Mondos, and I'm like,
I would be like, what the
okay,
hell, man? What the
come
hell was
on.
that?
like, dude, like, you guys could have done nothing for us.
To be fair, they have
No,
a
don't be
history of
fair.
this. They have a history of this, right?
It's true.
When Morgoth first got there, and then they ended up putting up the walls, right? And they're like, nope, we're done. Like, he destroyed the original plan for Arda. They went into Valinor and they kind of hid themselves, knowing full well that the children of Iluvatar were going to be born at some point, and they're leaving them with Morgoth.
Yeah.
So
They're
to
the
be
worst.
fair, they've done
Yeah.
this before. This shouldn't surprise anybody.
They're kind of the worst gods ever.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Where were we? Oh yeah, that's right.
field was
Fingon had just
lost.
been trodden
The field,
into the
yeah.
dust.
Poor
Yeah,
Fingon.
Hurin and Huar, and they're there with their people, and they're there with Turgon and Gondolin, and they turn to Turgon and they're like, we got to cut our losses. You go back to Gondolin. They say, for in you lives the last hope of the Eldar, and while Gondolin stands, Morgoth shall still know fear in his heart. And Turgon knows that at some point this, hidden kingdom of Gondolin is going to come to an end. And Huar says, we still got to give it a chance. You go back. He says, though we part here forever, and I shall not look on your white walls again, from you and from me a new star shall arise. So that's important for the future in context that I don't necessarily understand right now, but
Well, in the next sentence where Maeglin,
yes.
that Maeglin
Oh my
overhears
god.
that,
He's
and
just
he keeps
so
that.
sus.
He just
It
puts
says,
that right in his little brain.
He stood by, heard those words, and did not forget them, but he said nothing. That's just, it said kind of like when it says like Melian said nothing.
Yep.
It says so much when they say nothing, you know?
yes. It's like something's happening in there. You're just gonna keep that in that vault.
Just gonna keep an eye on y'all. See what comes of that. So then Gondolin starts and Turgon, they start going back towards Gondolin, and Huron and Huar and their people are kind of taking up the rear in defense of them. It says, you know, Turgon vanished into the mountains. And I love that, like, they can just, like, disappear. They're just gone.
The cool thing there, too, that I didn't actually... So, like I said, I've listened to this and reread this. I can't even tell you how many times. But every single time I find something new. And in this, and later on it tells us, Turgon takes with him the surviving army of Nargothrond. So no elves make it back to Nargothrond because he ends up taking them back to Gondolin. Mm-hmm. He's like, all right, you guys come with me. Yeah. The men of Dorloman will wreck house while we leave. Yeah. Right. And because
or at least
that's what
we hope they do.
Right. Yes, exactly.
Yikes. Yeah. That's so also like very cool of Turgon to like break his rules finally of like no one is allowed in Gondolin. And then he's like, maybe there are some exceptions to that rule when everyone is dying.
Because his brother just died, right? And so he's like, all right, all of my brother's people that came with him, if you're still alive, come with me now.
Yeah.
Right?
Feanor's sons, y'all are fine over there.
Yeah, screw you guys. Nobody cares.
It's your fault we're in this mess.
Yeah, this is so true. So they go into Gondolin safely. Then the hosts of Angband swarm. It says they swarmed against the men, Huar and Huron's armies. Huar dies, pierced with a venomed arrow in his eye, which is such a graphic description.
Yeah.
Right.
And everyone else is killed. It says slain about him in a heap. Mm-hmm. A heap. And orcs hewed their heads and piled them as a mound of gold in the sunset. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, they weren't messing around.
Yeah. And Huron is the last one of them to survive. This is so cool. He chucks his shield aside and just grabs his axe, and he goes forth screaming. He says something an elvish phrase that I'm not
Aure en Tuluva.
Beautiful. Day shall come again.
Which this is that
every
callback,
time,
right?
Yes.
That's the callback that Chris was talking about from when Turgon first showed up, right? And it's, the night is passing. Now, the night's passed and nothing's gotten any better. So the day will come again. And he says this every time he kills an orc.
It's 70 times he uttered that cry. So he's
like, this is that point of just like full on madness, right?
Yeah.
Everyone around him is
adrenaline.
Dead. He's like, screw this shield. I don't need it. I know I'm dying. I'm just gonna take up this two-handed axe and go.
This is my last stand, but I'm not gonna go down without a fight.
Yeah.
Eventually, they capture him, and Morgoth commands the orcs to bring him alive.
Yeah.
And Gothmog bound him. Oh, they chop off his arms.
Well, so he's hewing off.
Oh, he chopped off their arms.
Yeah, their arms are still holding on to him
as he's chopping them off,
but no longer attached to any orc bodies.
Then Gothmog bound him and dragged him to Angband with mockery. And then the sun sets. So this was all one day.
Yeah. This is all just the Nirnaeth Arnoediad.
Yes.
This is the fourth day of that war.
Yes. And so that the day of unnumbered tears ends. Mm-hmm. And Morgoth is he's like, you know what? I was just picturing, Kronk going, oh yeah, it's all coming together. Like,
he's got a list and he's like, men fought men, check.
Yes.
King of Elves dead, check.
Like, elves don't trust men, check.
Yeah. Does he even know about the dwarves? Do we think?
I mean, like, right? Like, he never mentioned, like, even though it says he doesn't take heed of men, I feel like he takes even less
heed of the dwarves.
dwarves.
Yeah.
Like,
These
I
random
don't know.
short people fled
Yeah.
into the mountains. Check.
like, yeah, they hurt my dragon, but big deal.
He'll
They
be
bounced.
fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fear and hatred were aroused among those that should have been united against him. And so, yeah, it says the realm of Fingon was no more. The sons of Feanor wandered as leaves before the wind. Their arms were scattered, league broken. The sons of Feanor take to the wild. Which I just imagine is just like really funny for them because they're like, we're not used to this. What?
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, they've
where's my
fallen,
fancy
like-
bed? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Where's
like,
my
they
city?
have fallen low for
Yeah.
Sons of Feanor.
Yeah.
For Lords of the Noldor, you know?
the men, the Easterlings, are sent into Hithlum, and Morgoth shuts them in there. It says, denying them the rich lands of Beleriand, which they coveted.
Yeah, just hosing them even more.
Yeah.
Like, I know I promised you all of Balerion. You don't get that. You get
Yeah.
Hithlum,
Yeah, you get Hithlum.
where only the old women and children
Yes.
live.
It says their reward was to plunder and harass the old and the women and the children of Hador's people.
Mm-hmm.
Yikes.
Like, that'll teach you.
The remaining, and then the Eldar that are still in Hithlum were taken to the mines of the north and labored there, or are trapped there, and some of them escape or something, but for the most part, they're stuck there. The orcs and wolves went freely through all the north. And then I love this. Doriath indeed remained. So I
Yeah.
could just imagine Thingol like being like, man, aren't you so glad we're not out there? And Melian like, you are so dumb.
This guy.
This guy.
This
You are
guy.
so dumb. Is divorce legal in our realm? Like, oh my God.
I spot one elf in the woods one time, and this is my fate after that?
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah. It says, in the halls of Nargothrond were hidden, but Morgoth gave small heed to them. So he's like, not really concerned. The remaining elves and remaining people, I guess, flee to the Havens, which is on the coast of Beleriand, and they take refuge behind Círdan's walls. And it's like, oh my God, okay, good. At least we have one safe place. This is great.
One would only hope, right?
Nope.
Nope.
Morgoth sends his forces down there, and they ravaged all the Falas, and they break down the walls. The havens were laid in ruin. And most of Círdan's people were slain or enslaved. However, some went aboard a ship and escaped by sea, one of which being Arnoediad, Gilgalad,
Good old Gilgalad.
Gilgalad, son of Fingon. I wonder if he knows yet that Fingon is dead. Or do you think he's just like assumed now?
I'm sure word got back.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, if they're all trying to escape to an island,
Yeah.
things couldn't have gone well.
And sadly, like, it could be that it's not until, and we get this in a minute, it could be that it's not until Turgon sends his people to Círdan that
Yeah.
Gilgalad hears that his father is dead,
is dead.
Yeah.
which is sad. Poor Gilgalad.
Anyway, yeah, so they some of them escaped to the Isle of Balor, where they are able to take refuge for a while. Turgon hears some, and he sends messengers, and with them and Círdan, they build some more ships, and they sail out into the west, but no tidings of them came ever back to Balor. Save
Except
of
for
one
one.
and the last.
Yep.
And so they're trying to get out into the west, and only, it says, some of the mariners, that's right, are caught up in a storm, and one of them was saved by Olmo from the wrath of Ose. And he washes up on shore, and his name is Voronwë. He was one of those that Turgon sent forth as messengers from Gondolin. And then that's it. So we might see him again in the future.
This is one of those points in the Silmarillion, like, every single time I read it, like, the first time I was like, wait, what's happening right now?
Yeah, like, who's this
But-
random guy?
Yeah, and like every time I read it, I'm like, dude, like, I love your writing, man, but like, why are you giving us a paragraph that doesn't matter for the next like
4 chapters.
3 chapters ahead, like
Yeah.
this paragraph is great, but it doesn't mean anything to me for the next like 3 chapters, dude. So.
And then if you're me, by the time you get to that chapter, you've forgotten about it.
You've forgotten about it. You're like, wait, no, I've heard that name before. Yeah. What is that again?
Yeah.
Where did I see that?
And let's see.
But we get a little bit more about Morgoth and Turgon. Right.
Yes.
And why this entire time he's been searching for Gondolin. Right. Why Gondolin like scares him so badly.
Yeah. Basically, Turgon is thinking a lot about Morgoth. Morgoth is thinking a lot about Turgon. It says, for Turgon of the mighty house of Fingolfin was now by right king of all the Noldor, and Morgoth feared and hated the house of Fingolfin because they had the friendship of Ulmo, his foe, and because of the wounds that Fingolfin had given him with his sword. So he also has this like personal beef against Fingolfin, because he's like, you scratched me 7 times with your sword.
Right? How dare you?
Yeah.
I
like how you described it as scratched him.
Scratches. Yeah. Well, I mean, by this point, I'm assuming they've healed a bit, but
they have.
His foot never healed.
His foot didn't. His foot didn't. Yeah,
his foot never heals.
Yeah.
But I do remember during that battle, it specifically mentions that Fingolfin like hit him 7 times, and I'm like, why is that so important? The 7 wounds.
Him and his numerology.
Oh my gosh!
But even more so is the fact that Morgoth remembers all the way back to Valinor that and this is more of that like we're going to talk about what's going to happen with Turgon, right? We already got a little bit of that with Hurin or with Hur. And now we're going to talk about it again, where Morgoth, all the way back in Valinor, every time he would walk by Turgon, he was like, there's something about this elf. I know I'll get Dermon up here now. He's like, there's something about this elf here that is very unsettling to me. Like something about this elf is, I just have this feeling that he is going to cause big problems for me. Right. And a new star, we were already told that a new star
will arise. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
and like just how unassuming, the second son of the second son, is like not like the exact middle child, know?
Yep.
You would never like suspect that to happen. So yeah, he's suspicious of him for sure and wants to know where Gondolin is. So he takes Huron and, tortures him and threatens him to find out more about Gondolin and where it is. But Huron defied him and mocked him. And I was like, yo, bro, good for you. That's awesome.
I do have a question for you real quick. Do you have plans of reading any of the solo stories after Silmarillion?
I mean, right now I'm saying probably not, but I also said multiple times I would never read the Silmarillion. So
children of Huron.
Yeah, I know the children of Huron is a thing.
So like this part right here
is really important for that.
You don't even get the slightest amount of the trash talk that Huron throws at Morgoth. Like Huron as a man face to face with the mightiest being that has ever existed in Arda, and he is throwing so much shade. And it is like, if nothing else, that is a reason why to read Children of Huron, because it is just, it's like, dude, like he knows he is at the precipice of death. Like he's like, what are you going to do to me? Like, and granted, Morgoth comes out swinging.
Yeah.
But Huron, that dude, like he throws some massive shade at Morgoth, enough to make him very, very angry.
Yeah.
Yes.
And very insecure, honestly.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty great. It's so good.
Yeah, it says Morgoth cursed Huron and Morwen, his wife, and their offspring, and set a doom upon them of darkness and sorrow. And then he takes Huron and bounds him to a chair and sets him on like the high cliff of Thangorodrim. And he is like bound to stay there forever. And Morgoth says, "Sit now there and look out on the land, look out upon the lands where evil and despair shall come upon those whom thou lovest. Thou hast dared to mock me and to question the power of Melkor, master of the fates of Arda. Therefore, with my eyes thou shalt see, and with my ears thou shalt hear. And never shalt thou move from this place until all is fulfilled unto its bitter end."
Yeah.
Rough.
Yeah. And again, like it was because of, and we don't get the words here.
Yeah.
But it was because of this, I mean, just massive trash talk from Hurin. Like basically
Because
telling
he probably
Morgoth,
was like, "Oh, you're just gonna kill me," you know? Like,
Well,
what's
and-
the matter?
and
you know?
even that, like Morgoth, or like Hurin is basically telling Morgoth, like, dude, I know about you. Like, I know who you are. Like, you're sitting here pretending like I don't know who you are. I know. And I know what you know. And like, yeah, it's great. Like, he comes at him pretty hard. So it makes Morgoth mad and insecure. Like, it makes him insecure enough to say, like, I am the master of fates of Arda, when earlier Hurin is like, no, you aren't, bro.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, but you're not.
Yeah.
Like, and it's just, oh, it's so good. It's so good. But yeah, poor Hurin. Poor Hurin.
Yeah, that's a rough deal to be dealt.
Yeah. and you will find out how rough a deal
In the
that
next
is.
chapter.
In my favorite story, which is of Turinbar, but it hurts the soul.
Oh,
so
right.
much.
I don't know. Does it hurt? Would you say it hurts more or less than the death of Huan?
It is far, far more tragic.
It is it's a tragedy in the true sense of a tragedy, right?
Yes.
Okay, but are there any dogs that die in it?
No.
There
no.
are no dogs. There
Great.
are no dogs.
Yeah, so you're good.
Yeah. So you're good
All
there.
set.
Yeah.
But it is.
I can handle the next chapter then. It's fine.
Yeah, come at me. I don't care. We have this one final paragraph of the chapter, which is like really metal, honestly. Morgoth commands the orcs to gather up the bodies of every dead body from this battle and all of their weapons and everything and pile them up. Later on, like as years pass, I don't think this can actually happen, but it says that like they turn into like green grass hills.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I don't think that's physically possible. Like everyone knows that, like, you know, in like murder mystery movies or documentaries or something, they always find the body because there's a patch of dead grass in someone's backyard, you know? So like, I don't believe that, you know,
But it's a
green
beautiful thing,
hill
you know?
is going to grow out of these bodies, these decomposing bodies. However, they are named the Hill of Slain and the Hill of Tears. And it says that no creature of Morgoth trod thereafter upon the earth, beneath which the swords of the Eldar and the Edain crumbled into rust.
Yeah. And I know that we aren't talking a ton about it because this isn't where we're at, but there is much thought that in the trailer that was released at Comic-Con, when we see Galadriel putting a helmet on a mound of helmets at the very beginning of it, a lot of people are believing that this is part of that this is kind of those hills. Because it is in a barren wasteland, which is Downfowgleaf, right?
Mm-hmm.
The gasping dust, and it's hills of dead men and elves. So if that's the case, that is massively saddening. We'll see where they go with that, you know?
Yes. Yeah. Also, I want to give a shout out to Lauren Does Cosplay, because she made this really awesome cosplay version of Galadriel's armor.
So good.
And because of it, she got to go, you know, she went to San Diego Comic-Con and met Morphic Clark. And I was like, I would die. Like, I would immediately, like, just, like, I would like burst into tears and then immediately die. Like that's
I saw
so
the
cool.
photo of them hugging,
Oh
and
my
like
God.
their hug was so genuine that
Oh
I was
my
like,
God.
"Oh, that is just beautiful. That's
so
amazing."
cool. Yeah. So we'll get to see more of the armor and where that comes from. That'll be really cool for me to be like, oh, I think I know where that is. But also
Right.
there's a good chance that I will have forgotten all of this by the time the show comes out. So
And that's the crazy thing, and I've said it a few times now, is like I feel like they've told us multiple times, like, oh yeah, we just have the rights to the appendices, blah blah.
yeah,
I'm
that's
like,
what I don't get.
they are being sneaky, because I feel like there is going to be a lot more of the first age in this than we anticipated. And I went through and I read back through the appendices just to see, and I'm like, there is not a lot here. Like there is not.
Yeah,
a lot
I don't know
there.
how they're gonna make. Yeah, I think right now they're confirmed for 2 seasons. And if each episode
I think it's
is
a total of 5 that they're trying.
Yeah,
to
they're
do.
there's 5 seasons.
Yeah, okay, 5. I thought it was 4 that they had like mapped out at least.
And they have the ending, so they've already talked about it and said like there's stuff that's going to be covered in the first season.
What if we just roll right into the events of The Hobbit at the end of like that's how the series ends?
Absolutely.
Is it actually doesn't end? It's just a
Just
series, a
goes right back
TV
into
version
it.
of The Hobbit, and then an episodic version, and then it goes right into a TV version of Lord of the Rings. And
it's
then
funny because there's been a bunch of comments that are like, I saw this on New Betta's thing, like somebody commented like, oh well, if it sucks, it's just going to get canceled anyway. And the funny thing is contractually, no, it's not.
I can't.
They actually made sure in the contract that it was going to be 5 seasons, no matter what, no matter the ratings, no matter anything, it will be 5 seasons. So I have no thoughts that it's going to suck. I will watch it no matter what, but we're getting 5 seasons. No matter what, we are getting 5 seasons of this show. So yes,
which is what, like 50 hours of Lord of the Rings, right?
More than that.
At least.
It's got because I think I've read that like the first 2 episodes are going to give us like 3 hours worth of content.
Give it to me. Give it to me. All of it. I want all of it always.
Is it September yet?
I know, right? Oh my gosh. My problem that I just realized is that the end of my family's beach vacation is the premiere of the first episode. So I'm like, do I like just be like, don't talk to me and like go into a bedroom somewhere and watch it? Or do I wait to come home so I can like watch it in peace and quiet, by myself? Or like, what am I going to do? I don't know.
Carlos might be moving that weekend. So.
Oh my gosh.
Moving that weekend.
Oh, and then like the following weekend, I'm going on a bachelorette trip. And then one of the weekends is that friend's wedding. And so I'm like, there's going to be a lot of weekends where I'm really going to have to like figure out how I can watch and record an episode and edit that episode and get it out. So yeah.
Yeah, at that point, literally just put in the noise canceling headphones and be like, I am not available for the next 3 hours.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, thank you both for coming on and talking about this super eventful chapter. I don't remember which one of you said it, but when I reached out and said we were doing this chapter, you said, oh, I both love and hate this chapter. Yeah. So
that was me.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on despite your hatred of it as well.
I don't hate. It's not hate just, so much as it's the sad aspect.
Yeah, it's just the events that happen in it.
And the goriness of it. It's just the way it's written is one of my more favorite chapters. So as I'm happy to be on this one.
Yeah, and it that sounds super similar to, I remember when I was reading Return of the King and during the Siege of Gondor when they like catapult all the decapitated heads into Gondor. Yeah. I was stunned. I was shocked. Yeah. So like, usually that level of like violence and because at that point it's like it's personal,
Yes. Tolkien writes the pains of war very well.
Mm-hmm. That he does.
And it's sad. It's sad how well, knowing his experiences in life, it's sad how well he writes the pains of war.
Yeah. That it's like based in a reality for him. Yeah. Well, that's like a really depressing note to end the episode on. So,
but thank you for having us on. Honestly, like this has been so great. Carlos and I have been doing our podcast for about a year, and this is only the second one that we've guested on. We've had a bunch of guests
Crazy.
on, but it's we did Voices of Arda about 2 weeks ago. So we did Callie and Nubetta's.
Yeah.
And then being asked by you, who's been doing this for 3 years. It's great, and it's an honor. We're very grateful to be on your show.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Of course. Yeah. Where can people find you on the internet?
So we are at _Swolhirrim pretty much anywhere. So on Instagram is where we post a lot of our Tolkien-based workouts, and information about the podcast and stuff like that. We're relatively new on TikTok, but we've been there. Really, I just use TikTok to get salty with people.
We're like 52 people away from 1,000.
I know, we're so close to 1,000. We'll be able to do lives as soon as we hit that 1,000 mark. But we do a lot of workout stuff on there. One of my big things on TikTok is I try to give scaling options to anybody at any ability to do any of our Tolkien-based workouts. So yeah, really Instagram and TikTok are the two places that we're most at, but we also have a Patreon where we post our own very verbally explicit podcast for anybody who wants to listen to those, and we do some other fun stuff on that. But we're
also on our podcast is also on like anywhere you can find a podcast.
Yeah, the Swolhirrim, anywhere, Spotify, Apple, all of that fun stuff. So yeah,
very cool. Yeah, all of that will be linked in the episode description, so please, listeners, go check that out. As someone who, like I said, I am like not active at all, so it's great to hear that you have different like level options and modifications for people of like different abilities and whatnot. So listeners, if you're wanting to get active, maybe this is a great place to start.
We're here for you.
Yeah, that's really wonderful. That's What I'm Talking About is a proud member of WBNE. If you want to learn more about the network, you can go to wbne.org. The cover art is by Vaishon Brandon. You can support him on Instagram at Vaishon Designs. If you want to get merch for That's What I'm Talking About, you can go to tpublic.com/user/talkingaboutpod. You can follow the podcast on social media at talkingaboutpod. You can follow me on Twitter at MCWattsUp and on Instagram at MCTurndownForWhat. If you want to support the podcast, you can go to patreon.com/talkingaboutpod to explore the different tiers and perks that are available. You can join the Discord server, which is a wonderful place to be. Recently, I've been trying to chime in more into conversations and pop in and say hey and see what everyone else is up to. I do a lot of reading all of the messages, but sometimes I don't always find myself jumping into something. But I've been trying to do that more because everyone in that place is super cool and nice. And so if you want to have fun conversations with me and people who are much cooler than me, you should definitely become a member of the Discord tier, or you can become a sponsor of the podcast like Josh. Josh, thank you so much for continuing to support That's What I'm Talking About. I'm remaining a sponsor in a day and age in which it is just so easy to not care about things. I am so honored that you have chosen to care about this podcast. As always, if you like what you're listening to, please make sure to rate and review. Well, do you have any parting words for the audience?
I don't have anything. What about you, Carlos?
It's been a privilege being on here. This was great. Probably one of my more favorite chapters to read, even though it is kind of heavy. But yeah, this is fantastic. Thanks for having us on.
And that's what I'm talking about.